Hey guys, welcome back to yet another Remnant 2 video. In this video, I want to cover my favorite way to play Remnant 2. New game Apocalypse, which means starting a brand new, fresh character and playing on Apocalypse difficulty from the get-go. Now, in my opinion, the best part about Remnant isn't collecting every single item in the game, nor is it about maxing your character and killing bosses in record times. It's not even about killing every boss in the game while naked just to say you did. To me, the best part about Remnant is finding some piece of crap weapon and a barely useful ring, and challenging yourself to make it work. So, if you're like me in that regard, then New Game Apocalypse is the best way to get that experience. Now, with that being said, there's many different starting archetypes to choose from. You may be familiar with these archetypes on your level 20 main character, but starting from scratch as one can be a completely different experience. Especially on Apocalypse difficulty, where the beginning is arguably the hardest.
Ooh, that's kind of small.
So I took it upon myself to experiment with starting as the different archetypes. Each of the 11 archetypes start with a different weapon, armor, and ability. My goal is to figure out which archetypes are the most effective on Apocalypse difficulty right from the start, and which archetypes are a little more circumstantial. So in this series, I'm going to start a brand new, fresh character for each archetype. I'm going to play the game up until beating the first boss I encounter, and then I'm going to give the archetype a score and rank it compared to all other archetypes. Each video will cover 2 to 3 archetypes, and the final video will rank them against each other. But before doing that, let's go over exactly what I'll be ranking the archetypes based on. So the first and most important aspect I'll be scoring the archetypes on is their overall effectiveness. Effectiveness meaning generally how well the character handles the enemies and the boss. This will be stuff like raw damage, survivability, and any cool utility they may have. The second aspect I'll be scoring on is fun factor. Sometimes it's just more fun to play a weird character in spite of its flaws. This is a highly subjective score, of course, so your mileage may vary. And the last aspect I'll be scoring on is fashion. Now, fashion isn't as straightforward as you'd think. Some archetypes start with a great looking armor set, but whoops, it's too damn heavy. We'll need to change it up to avoid weight penalties. So basically, this score will be how cool can you look while staying at blue equip weight.
Nice.
Also, there's a few more things to consider. Now keep in mind that this test is entirely about the early stages of the New Game Apocalypse playthrough. Some of these archetypes truly shine later on in the game, or when combined with other archetypes. This test is about that first hour of gameplay, so keep that in mind. Also, I won't be re-rolling the campaign for any character, so different characters will encounter different challenges, and that's fine. Some characters simply perform better under different circumstances. But I wanted to capture that randomness factor that is core to the Remnant experience. And of course, everything in this video is purely from my point of view, my opinion. I play a lot of Remnant, so what's good for me is not necessarily good for you. Okay, so if we're all on the same page now, we can finally get started with the first archetype. First up is the medic, and they start with a surprisingly stacked loadout. The weapons are the bone saw, service pistol, and steel flail. They get the field medic armor set, and their starting ability is Wellspring, which is a very powerful heal. Having an extra unlimited heal is insanely valuable on Apocalypse. And as an added bonus, the prime ability will restore relic charges after performing enough healing. Now to get the armor set to a usable weight, we can remove the helmet and gloves. This puts us perfectly at the blue weight threshold, and our character still looks great. For rings, I went with the Black Cat Band and Provisioner Ring. The Black Cat Band prevents death once every couple of minutes. This ring is kind of a staple for Apocalypse due to how fast you can find yourself in a bad situation. The Provisioner Ring will gradually reload any gun you have stowed, which is great when using guns with slow reload speeds. But unfortunately, the ring is glitched at the time of this video and doesn't properly reload guns. In hindsight, I would have picked a Duran Scavenger Ring instead. More on that ring later. Now, when it comes to starting mods, Healing Shot and Hot Shot are both strong contenders. Healing Shot has a great synergy with the medic because of the previously mentioned prime ability. But I went with Hot Shot for one very important reason. It instantly reloads your gun. This will help alleviate one of the 2 major flaws with the starting long gun, the very, very slow reload speed. Speaking of, the starting long gun for the medic is the Bone Saw. The Bone Saw is a pretty fun automatic weapon with a big-ass 150 round magazine. It deals decent damage and has a fair rate of fire, but the stopping power can be a little underwhelming at times. The gun can also overheat if you aren't careful, and you can't even switch to your other gun until it cools off. As I said before, the reload speed is also terrible, but Hotshot provides an instant reload, so yeah, just use Hotshot. When combined with Hotshot, the Bonesaw can tear through groups of weak enemies, as well as chip down stronger enemies. It has poor accuracy against enemies at long range, which is where the Service Pistol comes in. The Service Pistol is one of my top 3 favorite pistols in the game. While it only has a 9-round capacity, it has excellent accuracy, and is great for hitting weak points. It has a quick reload speed and can fire as fast as you can press the button. It's a great option for most situations, and the perfect companion to the Bonesaw. Between the Bonesaw and the Service Pistol, the medic can handle pretty much any encounter right from the get-go. But we're not done yet. The medic's starting melee weapon is the Steel Flail, and this thing is incredibly good. It deals impressive damage even at level 0, with its wide swings making it ideal for handling groups of weaker enemies. But easily the best thing about the flail is its charge attack, which does this sort of rodeo swing that deals a crazy amount of damage. I used it a lot more than I was expecting, and I had a lot of fun while doing it. The medic has a very strong start. It is no surprise that I had no difficulty whatsoever getting to and beating the boss's run, which was the blow key. The fight did take a while, but I never felt in danger of losing. So, with all that being said, let's review and give a grade to the medic. First up is effectiveness. The loadout is great, the survivability is great, and honestly, the medic is probably the best starting archetype for anyone who's worried about dying. But as a more experienced player, I prefer having an archetype ability that can boost damage. Relying entirely on my guns to deal damage means I was frequently running out of ammo and had to rely on melee. So because of this, I'm scoring the medic's effectiveness an 8 out of 10. Next up is fashion, and this one's an easy 7 out of 10. It looks great and it's at the perfect weight, but it doesn't really wow me, so yeah, 7 is where I'm going to score it. Lastly, we have fun factor. Ripping through a horde of enemies with the Bonesaw and Hotshot is peak enjoyment. Smashing a small group of dirty peasants with the flail never gets old. But managing your Bonesaw's heat and ammo is kind of not fun, and you'll be doing more of that than anything else. So for that reason, I'm giving the medic a 7 out of 10 on the fun factor scale. This gives the medic a final overall score of 22 out of 30, a pretty high score overall. The second archetype we're covering is the Hunter. Unlike the medic, the Hunter has a more specialized loadout. It starts with the Huntmaster, Repeater Pistol, and Steel Sword. They get the Night Stalker armor set, and their starting ability is Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark will highlight enemies even through walls, which is great for most occasions. It also provides you with a 15% damage boost and increased chance to crit against any highlighted enemies. The downside of Hunter's Mark is its rather short duration, which is where the Prime perk comes in. The Hunter's Prime perk will extend the duration of any active abilities, as long as you continue to deal damage against enemies. So you can basically keep Hunter's Mark going for an entire fight as long as you keep landing hits. To get this armor set to a usable weight, we can remove the helmet, gloves, and change the pants to the Elder leggings. It doesn't look great honestly, but it gets the job done. I initially skipped rings for the Hunter, but I went back later after getting some scrap. The rings I went with were the Black Cat Band and 𝐑𝗲𝐦 Scavenger Ring. The 𝐑𝗲𝐦 Scavenger Ring is an unimpressive ring that gives a small boost whenever you collect scrap, iron, or ammo. Most of the time, the benefits are too small to waste on a valuable ring slot, but importantly, it provides a very small amount of health regeneration. Since our character has no better alternatives, this ring will be the best way to heal minor damage without wasting a relic charge. You'll see me recommend this ring for future archetypes as well, for the exact same reason. For the starting mod, I first went with Scrap Shot. Scrap Shot is an excellent early game weapon mod that can trivialize some otherwise deadly encounters. It applies a slowing effect to all enemies that step on the trap, as well as some minor damage. The slow effect in particular pairs incredibly well with high damage precision weapons such as our Huntmaster. Since I didn't purchase any rings at the beginning, I had enough money to buy Hotshot right at the start as well. Moving on to weapons, the Hunter's starting long gun is the Huntmaster. The Huntmaster is a powerful, semi-automatic precision rifle. It deals high damage and has a 7-round capacity, and nearly perfect accuracy at any range. The fire rate and reload speeds are also pretty fast, so as long as you have ammo, you can generally keep shooting. If you can reliably land headshots, the Huntmaster is arguably the best gun in the game, full stop. The starting handgun for the Hunter is the Repeater Pistol. The Repeater is very similar to the Service Pistol with a few key differences. It has less damage and higher spread, but has a pretty large 15-round magazine. This puts it in a weird position where it doesn't really excel at anything, which is a big problem when playing on Apocalypse difficulty. I kept the repeater for this run, but I recommend replacing it with the SMG instead. Lastly, we have the starting melee weapon for the hunter, which is the steel sword. Much like the repeater, this sword doesn't really excel in any particular way. It does mediocre damage, has inconsistent swings, but can occasionally land headshots for decent damage. There are certainly worse options for a melee weapon, but the steel sword sits pretty close to the bottom of the list. The boss of this run was 𝐑𝗲𝐦, and while I didn't die during the fight, it was somewhat challenging once my Huntmaster ran out of ammo. Having a good melee weapon is valuable for this fight, and the steel sword didn't really fit the bill. So with all that being said, let's review and give a grade to the hunter. First up is effectiveness. The hunter has a very one-sided starting loadout. While it has a pretty powerful ability and a top-tier weapon, the Huntmaster, it has a big weakness in close-range encounter, due to the less than impressive pistol and melee weapon. Now of course you can replace both these weapons pretty fast with better options. But for the purpose of this score, we're only considering the weapons that the Archetype starts with. While it's probably deserving of a lower score, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, mostly because of the Huntmaster. Next up is fashion. The fashion is harder to grade here because I really only kept one piece of the original armor set. It doesn't look bad, and the weight is at a good place, so I'll give it a 5 out of 10. And finally, we have fun factor. While I think Hunter's Mark and Huntsmaster are both very good at dealing damage, I wouldn't exactly call them fun to use. Getting a nice headshot is pretty satisfying, but missing a shot equally feels bad. With a pretty bland pistol and melee weapon, playing this character simply lacks excitement. So I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10 for fun factor. This gives the hunter an overall score of 18 out of 30, a rather mid score for rather mid experience. So that's going to do it for this video. If you like this video and want to see this series continued, please drop a like and let me know down in the comments below. I learned a hard lesson when I did my cheese run video. It took me a month of exhausting work to complete, and nobody watched it. So seriously, if you want to see more, please let me know because I'm not making that mistake again. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing for more Remnant content, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.